since it's not a prime element, it can be factored non-trivially. Then C plus di can be written as alpha plus beta I times say gamma plus delta I, where alpha plus beta I and gamma plus delta I are Gaussian integers and they are non-units. Okay, so they are non-units. This implies, we have already seen these steps. You take the complex conjugate on both sides, you get C minus di is equal to alpha minus beta I times gamma minus delta I. Then we multiply those two equations, and doing that gives us C square plus D square. So here we are not writing in detail, we know what we are doing. Alpha square plus beta square times gamma square plus delta square. Okay, actually my plan was to suppose that this is not a prime integer and arrive at a contradiction, but we don't have to use contradiction, I think, here, because you see, since these things are non-units, so these will be positive integers greater than 1. That means this is a non-trivial factorization of C square plus D square, already proving that this is not a prime. Since alpha plus beta I and gamma plus delta I are non-units, we have both of these positive integers greater than 1. So from this equation we get is not a prime integer. So we have proved that if C plus di is not a prime element in Ji, then C square plus D square is not a prime integer. What is the contrapositive of this? If C square plus D square is a prime integer, then C plus di is a prime element. We have thus proved that if C square plus D square is a prime integer, then C plus di is a prime element in Ji. Now we have to prove the converse, namely if C plus di is a prime element in Ji, then C square plus D square is a prime integer. So conversely, assume C plus di is a prime element in Ji, and we have to prove that C square plus D square is a prime integer. Suppose it is not. Now in this case we have to go by the method of contradiction. But before we do that, let us do another calculation. Now, okay, it seems that whatever I write here, the hints, all of them ironically turn out to be false. So looking at this thing, I have to do exactly I have to do what is not written here. I don't know what I keep thinking when I write these things, these hints. So that means I have to write, suppose c square plus d square is not a prime integer. Okay, and we are expecting a contradiction. Then there exist integers m and n such that c square plus d square is equal to mn, which now will be non-trivial divisors of c square plus d square, and m and n are both greater than 1. Now c square plus d square can be written like this: c plus di times c minus di. So this is equal to mn. Okay. Now note that we have assumed c plus di to be a prime element, and this equation is telling us that c plus di is dividing the product of two integers m and n. You can think of m and n as Gaussian integers, because after all they are Gaussian integers. So that means since this prime element divides a product of two Gaussian integers, so it has to divide at least one of them from a property that we have proved in a Euclidean ring, in a general Euclidean ring, namely if a prime element divides a product AB, then this implies P divides A or P divides B. That thing we are now going to use here. And the actual reference is this lemma 7. At least, thankfully, I am writing the references correctly. I hope so. You please verify and let me know if I made a mistake in referring to these results. By lemma 376, we have c plus di dividing m, or c plus di dividing n in ji. The division has to happen in ji. Without loss of generality, we assume this one. We assume c plus di divides m in ji. That means m can be written as a product of c plus di and something else. Let m equal to C plus di times what should we take? Say E plus Fi, where E plus Fi is a Gaussian integer. Okay. Then what do we get from this equation? If we replace m by this one, we can cancel C plus di from both sides. Why? Because C plus di is a non-zero element in Ji, and Ji being a Euclidean ring is an integral domain, and in an integral domain that type of cancellation is available with respect to multiplication. Okay, this implies C minus di is equal to, oh, not C minus di, yes, C minus di is equal to, so if we cancel C plus di from both sides, here we will have E plus Fi times n. Okay, now it's not difficult to show that C minus di is also a prime element. Can you guess how you can show this from primality of C plus di? You take help of proof by contradiction. You assume that C minus di is not a prime element. In Ji, I have to mention that. Then C minus di can be written as a product of two non-units. That means it will be, say, something plus something times I times something plus something times I, where these are non-units. Then if you take now complex conjugates on both sides, this will become C plus di, and these things will be like this. Note that because these are non-units, both of these real and imaginary parts are non-zero. Why? Because these are the only units, right? Okay, so if the real and imaginary parts become non-zero, or if the real part or imaginary part becomes zero, then what do you have here? Can I conclude like that? If C plus di is equal to this, these are non-units. Do I have C plus di as a multiple of, say, C minus di and a unit? No, because C plus di is a prime element. C plus di itself is not a unit. Okay, so I am stuck here. I am saying that it's not difficult to show that C minus di is also a prime element, but I myself cannot show it now. Okay, let us see. That means we have to supply an argument now itself. C minus di, we have to prove, okay, let me just try. We have to prove that C minus di is a prime element. If it is not a prime element, then let me just take like this itself, alpha plus beta I times gamma plus delta I, where these are non-units. Then C plus di is alpha minus beta I times gamma minus delta I. Okay. Now, are these also non-units? That is the question. No, if they are non-units, then we have got what we want, because then primality of C plus di will be contradicted. Suppose alpha minus beta I is a unit. Say alpha minus beta I is a unit. Then alpha minus beta I times something else is equal to 1. Okay. Now if you now take the complex conjugate on both sides, then alpha plus beta I times u bar is equal to 1. 1 will stay 1 because 1 is real. So this is contradicting the fact that alpha plus beta I is a non-unit. So that is why alpha minus beta I also has to be a non-unit. It cannot be a unit, and from that we are concluding that because these are non-units, the primality of C plus di is contradicted. Okay, so that's how I thought about this in my mind, but I forgot the fine details. So now we see that we can, should I make it a part of the solution? Let's just do it. Otherwise, again, if you look at the solution later in future, you may get confused, I also may get confused. Now, suppose C minus di is not a prime element in Ji, then C minus di, but now we cannot take alpha, beta, those things, because we have already taken them somewhere before this. So C minus di, what can we take? Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, say epsilon. Let's use the Greek alphabets, more of them. Epsilon plus theta I times mu plus nu I, where epsilon plus theta I and mu plus nu I are elements in Ji, and these are non-units. Okay, then epsilon minus theta I and mu minus nu I are also non-units. The justification for this at least you can remember, because since they are units, each one of them will have an equation which will show it as a part of the product of the element and something else that is equal to 1. You take complex conjugate on both sides, and that's how you get the fact that these are also non-units. But then C plus di, which is equal to epsilon minus theta I times mu minus nu I, is not a prime element, is not a prime element, which is a contradiction. Which is a contradiction, or not a contradiction. What the hell has happened to me today? Not a prime element which is a a contradiction. Okay, now it is okay. So our supposition is wrong, and hence C minus di is a prime element in Ji. Now you look at this equation. C minus di is E plus Fi times N. Since C minus di is a prime element and N is already greater than 1. Recall how we chose N. Both M and N were positive integers greater than 1. So since N is greater than 1, its d value is N square, which is also greater than 1. So this is a non-unit in Ji, and this is a prime element. So a prime element cannot be written as a product of two non-units. So this has to be a unit, and this E plus Fi should be a unit in Ji. So that means E plus Fi is either 1 or minus 1 or I or minus I. Let us see the individual cases. If E plus Fi is equal to 1, then C plus di is equal to N, which implies d is equal to 0, a contradiction. Do you see why this is a contradiction? This of course is clear. If this is 1, then C minus di, again I have written C plus di. C minus di is equal to N, but then since N is real, so C will be equal to N and d will be equal to 0. But the complex number or the Gaussian integer that we have chosen in Ji was chosen in such a way where both C and D are non-zero, and it is because of this step that we took care of those situations where either C or D is 0 separately in the beginning itself. So now this gives us a contradiction, and now perhaps you can understand how we are going to handle the other cases. Anyway, I am going to write if E plus Fi is minus 1, then again C minus di is minus N, which implies d is equal to 0. A contradiction. If E plus Fi, let me write the other two cases together, plus minus I, then C minus di is equal to plus minus In, which implies now C is equal to 0, which is again a contradiction. So that means the supposition that we had previously, that C square plus D square is not a prime element, under the assumption that c plus di is a prime element is wrong. That is, c square plus d square has to be a prime element in the ring of integers. So our supposition that c square plus d square is not a prime integer is wrong. We have thus proved that if c plus di is a prime element in Ji, then c square plus d square is a prime integer. So the converse part also we have proved, and this completes the solution. Let us quickly summarize what we have done here. What are the prime elements in Ji? The prime elements in Ji look like this: plus minus p plus minus pi, where p is a positive prime integer of the form 4n plus 3. So these are things along the real and imaginary axis. In the rest of the plane, complex plane, if we have a Gaussian integer, then it is a prime element if and only if c square plus d square is an ordinary prime integer. These two are separate. Okay, don't confuse the case here, because you see how mysterious the situation is. Here we are characterizing the prime elements along the axis using ordinary prime numbers. Here also we are characterizing along the, on the plane, not on the axis, those Gaussian integers using ordinary prime integers. But there is a difference. The primes we are using here are of the form 4n plus 3, and as such these primes cannot be written as a sum of two squares, but the primes we are using here can be written as a sum of two squares. So none of them is of the form 4n plus 3. So this is the complete characterization of all the prime elements in the ring of Gaussian integers in terms of ordinary prime numbers. There is one more exercise whose solution again we are going to refer to a result. We will leave it like that from Barton's elementary number theory, and that will conclude the exercise set. So let us just write that also, and this one is also not easy, but it's already done for us there. Exercise 9, it's another start exercise. Determine all positive integers which can be written as a sum of two squares So here we are not concerned about just primes being representable as a sum of two squares, but all integers, whether a given positive integer can be written as a sum of two squares. This is a classic problem in number theory whose solution is already available, and it appears as a corollary. See the corollary to theorem 12.3 from Barton. And with this set of exercises is over. After this